Okay, here we go. So we're back. I am doing another dance reaction. Again, reactions to some of the work that, in this case, from the Groovaloo show. I thank you all for the great comments on the one I did earlier. You might see it. It was on a part of the scene they did in the factory with the dance, the B-boy scene that was part of Po1's story. And I was honoring Flips for getting married because he's in that scene. Anyways, you'll notice behind me you got a bit of some of the artwork from our stage show. If you saw the show, just some small pieces. There's just tons of incredible work that was done by JRock of DC5 and Tunes One of TCB, all brought together by Po1 from the Groovaloos, who introduced us to these guys. So little pieces, and then there's this box here, and says Dad stuff. That was my father's stuff. So the piece I want to dive into a bit today is something that was, I'll just call it the robot story. Now, what was so amazing about this piece, so Danny Cistone and myself, we created the show together, collaborating with the Groovaloos heavily, very obviously incredible collaboration. And in this one scene, the robot story, it really, in Danny's eyes, really summarize the show in terms of my story, Shooz' story, my true story, my journey to find who I was, my journey to find purpose, traveling from Canada to the States, falling in love with the essence and the groove behind the dance, but looking to kind of know who I am and what am I supposed to do with all my dreams. So this way this started was, the piece was developed around Lindsey. So you'll see Lindsey there, Lindsey, who we call OutThere. And we had created a piece for an earlier version of the show that was more about a story that she'd given us about a sort of a magical journey she was on. But then we changed it. It really was Danny's lead on this. He wanted to get a piece that sort of symbolized the story of Shooz. So we used OutThere, Lindsey, to sort of guide us through this story of this robot that represented, well, it's pretty easy to see which robot is me because of the hair. But this story gives you that taste. Let's play a bit of it here.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named OutThere.
There's Lindsey.
She was known for being a bit out of the norm. The kind of girl who liked to color outside of the lines. She would often drift deep into her own world and live through stories. Like this one.
So that first part, just that very first part, that's a bit of us holding on to a bit of what Lindsey had been sharing with us. But then that first thing you just saw of us just walking, funny thing about dance, sometimes the simplest things take the longest time. That walking and crossing and just that what you just saw there, us trying to just walk like pedestrians but make little patterns, that took us almost as long as doing a full-on routine just to get the exact steps and how many steps to turn 3 times back and forth. All right, so now we're getting into the scene, and you see the 4 of us there. Now, on this part, you'll see the story, you'll hear the story of this robot, which in a sense gives a sense of what my journey was in the show, my life looking for purpose and realizing it was there as I continued to be who I was and encourage others to be who they are and realize that in itself has purpose. That in itself is valuable and part of who I am. But as we did this part, and Danny and I had this idea of a factory and its rotating movement and creating this sort of factory feel. We worked with our lighting designer, and we worked with the sound designer, Stacy Quinalty, to create the music and the sound. But the actual movements that we started to do is we got to each section of interaction with Lindsey and each of the sort of robotic figures. We worked mainly with JRock and Lindsey to create the actual robotic sections that we did. We all collaborated, but it was really a lot with Lindsey and JRock working together on that. That's JRock right there. It's Vision 8, Charlie. That's Charlie right there. Boogieman, Steven. That crazy looking guy at the hair.
One day, OutThere met a robot. This robot came from a long line of robots, all built just like him. He He worked in a large assembly line with thousands of other robots of different shapes and sizes. These particular robots were all made for one purpose, to fix things. And that's what they did, without fail.
Lindsey was great.
Day after day after day, they fixed thing after thing, doing the moves they had always been programmed to do.
So, all the way through that, we've and obviously in our show and different tours, we've had Ashley play that part, and JJ play the part, and Christina play that part. And this one, on the original version, this is Lindsey that's playing the part of Out There, because she is out there. And now she sets up that idea that there was this robot doing what he does. All these robots every day fix things. That's what they do. And now she gets caught up in the machinery, so they're going to try to fix her. Ah, yes. Oh, yeah, this part, the detail here. The drill with both of them working together on that. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, the detail here is great. The animation skills of JRock just flying off the charts. Little touches. I like the detail there. Nice. Let's back it up for a second. If you see it close, see the mask that, well, you can see the mask that I have on and that JRock has on. So JRock actually got a guy, no, I think it was a friend, who made these special masks for us. They're all individually, such great detail. Hopefully you're getting a little glimpse of it there. And JRock, man, thanks for coming through on this. And Lindsey, doing your thing. Here we go. Let me back it up just a hair. Charlie with this, yeah, this section was great. Just kind of showing the way that you manipulate her, it's also has storytelling in it as well. Oh yeah, this part we decided to have a little dance section, a little moment of freestyle robot time. This was cool too. We wanted to have a section that really highlighted the fact of Stephen's cane, how to add some animation to that. So this came together, again, working with everybody. Look at that. Woo! That really reads well. Love that. Nice, Lindsey. Stephen's little head movement, perfect.
But this one particular robot had a secret yearning. His whole life, he had never seen the end of the line, or the result of all his work.
Right.
So Out There told the robot he should go and see for himself. Reluctantly, the robot moved out of the machine, and he began to move down the assembly line. Days turned into weeks, and weeks to months.
So what's interesting, well, actually, just that one little section back when I was with Lindsey and I spun her, and I remember I always felt like I was going to rip her arm off because you have the mask on, you can't really see, and you spin and her leg would go up. But this section here was really interesting. Again, symbolically, she's telling this robot who's doing his thing, who feels he's not doing enough, go out and see what you have been doing, or look back in and with a different eye set. I remember as we were writing the dialogue for this, Danny and I, for the robot had not seen what he was doing because he was doing what he was doing and not seeing what he was doing. And this is it's a great message to think about even in your life, right? You think you're supposed to do things and maybe more than you need to do, or maybe you're not doing enough, or you got it. And it's more just being, and the more that you see and and understand who you're designed to be, and the more that you're able to step into that and pull away, you'll actually see what you're doing is what you're doing. So that's the story in there. But I remember when I was at the side, the section, it's kind of funny to me watching it, because when you're in a show, when you got the gloves on and the mask on and you're working, you're feeling, doing a lot of things, and some reads, some doesn't. But I remember when I was at the side here and I was doing this sort of on-the-spot backslide motion. It felt so cool. I watch it now and I go, but the idea was that I was moving in time with them. Just sort of a small thought come to mind.
When finally, the robot was amazed to find that he had ended up right back where he'd started. He'd come full circle. The robot was confused and became very still. But to OutThere's surprise, he wasn't sad at all.
That's right.
He began to realize that all of those tiny fixes kept his world moving.
I love this part. Symbolically, the music that came in right there, the jazz vibe of music, it was symbolic of the story that I was on, that my father played jazz, tied to the freedom that he was subconsciously was giving to me with that freedom of jazz music. So now in this motion, the robot's still going to do what he does, but he has a new level of inspiration because he's seeing what he's doing has value. And I love the way Lindsey's just playing this section, and herself, the way she has her style of movement and just doing that as well. I'm just going to back it up.
He began to realize that all of those tiny fixes kept his world moving. The small things that he had been doing mattered. He was doing his part. Because after all, this robot was made to fix things. And OutThere felt safe, lost within her own story.
Yes. Woo! And then you see that flows into another part of the show. The cool thing about this whole piece was the way it had that double meaning. And again, thanks again. I hope you enjoyed it. That was the piece within the whole Groovaloo show that I'll call Robot Story for now. I forget what we called it exactly. And again, hats off to Lindsey and JRock, who stepped up and really brought their talent and their gifts of choreography and staging towards the piece as well. Again, thanks JRock for whoever that guy was that made those masks that were so phenomenal for the piece. And then that symbolic music that Stacy put in there, the jazz movement to add that tie into the dad story. There's just so much going on in this simple piece. So again, if you like this stuff, I'll do more reactions. I'll put in the comments, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. And thanks for being here, and I will catch you next time. Keep grooving. Groovaloos. Peace.